What are the sources of power often seen in organizations? Power relations are inherent in all organizations. The source of power can be an individual base or instructional base. The individual base consists of 5 powers. The coercive power involves a dependent relationship between the driving agent and the recipients of force. It derives from the threat, real or perceived, of punishment should the recipient of force not comply with the instructions or actual perceived wishes of the driving agent. Legitimate power derives from the authority and the social and cultural norms. It involves loyalty, social ranks, the organizational hierarchy. When used properly and not in an abusive manner, it can be mutually respected and understood by the recipient. Referent power derives from the driving agent's personal charisma and its effects on the recipients of influence. The recipient's attribution of prestige to the driving agent leads to a desire to please and emulate the agent. Expert power derives from the recipient's perception of knowledge possessed by the driving agent force. Its strength varies with the perceived extent of the agent's knowledge. Reward power provide an incentive for the person on the receiving end of the influence to change his or her behavior, expecting to receive a reward or recognition. Reward power derives from an attraction from the recipients to the driving agent. The structural powers has 3 main powers. Resource power, it's the greater amount of resources an individual manager or executor controls, both absolutely and as a proportion of the organization's total resources, will dictate the amount of power the manager will have. Decision power is closely related to an individual's level of authority within the organization. It can be a potent source of power for the staff member who influenced by the decision maker. Informational power at the organizational level can be a strong foundation of influence when the information is highly desired by others and closely held or otherwise difficult to obtain. What are negative impacts on the organization when its members exercise power and play political games within the Mintzberg's political game playing framework? The use of power by managers can affect and influence the staff and their overall performance. According to Bewley, healthcare managers who are unable to use power and influence their staff can result in negative outcomes and decrease morale, which will result in the inability of the organizations to fill their mission and goals. Managers who cannot balance the power and politicals can find themselves caught in the middle of the political game in the organization. For example, Mintzberg describes various types of games that can be found such as insurgency and counterinsurgency. Insurgency is when an individual or group resists authority in the power of the management team. This will then lead the management team to plan the political game of counterinsurgency, which the leaders fighting back against the insurgency game. A good example of this is from my time in the military, where new leadership took command and began to make changes and implement new procedures and policies. In this situation, the immediate supervisors, known as the non-commissioned officers and NCOs, did not agree with this change. So they continued to follow the older procedures, which then caused a tug-of-war situation with a chain of command and resulted in a decrease in the performances of the soldiers' morale. Power can be used in organizations to encourage the individuals and groups to act in accordance with the company's goals and objectives.